Welcome to the Content Magazine podcast, conversations with Silicon Valley's creatives. I'm Daniel Garcia, your host and the cultivator of Content Magazine published by SV Creates.
Hey, what's up, Daniel?
Today we talk with Sean Boyles, artist, muralist, and co-owner of the Arsenal in Japantown in San Jose. Hey Sean, how you doing?
Doing good.
Good. How's life in the shelter world?
It's fine. It's not so much different from being an artist. like you're, I don't know, because you're just always in the studio or home. My case, home, working on stuff. Yeah.
That is an interesting perspective. The first week of the shelter, I was in the production of the magazine, and I didn't even. My wife and kids were like, "Oh, that was kind of difficult. This is gonna be difficult." And I was like, I didn't notice any different. I would have been doing the same exact thing, just emailing people and working on the magazine 24/7, and I wouldn't even have known something was going on. There's actually even times where there's nothing going on, and I don't even watch the news for a couple of days or hear the news, So that's interesting perspective. So for you, there's some similarity?
Well, yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's definitely different because the shop really makes it different,
Yeah.
Like not having to go into the shop or not really being able to go. Well, being able to go, but not having anyone stop by.
Yeah.
That's super different. So it's not like it's totally unfazed, but it's just I've done this before. I've, before the shop, just working on my own paintings, just in really only going out to get groceries,
yeah.
It's I've lived like this before. It doesn't seem anything different, but it's but yeah, I don't read the news really. I mean, I look at the headlines just to kind of see where things are,
yeah.
But I don't really get into it. Roan, she reads the news. I find out more of the stuff because she reads it,
Yeah.
But it's crazy because, the other night, a relative of ours had a fever, and everyone freaked out. We're like, oh shit, because she's a little older,
Yeah.
But then it went back down the next day. So I don't know, but still, it's you don't know what that is,
Yeah.
So it's definitely I wouldn't say I feel unaffected by it, but just but not, it's kind of nice to be home.
Yeah.
I like being home.
Yeah. It was funny. I was talking to a friend of mine, and I was saying, because, it's me and my two kids, my wife and two kids. And he's got 3 kids and a wife and stuff. And I was saying, you know what, quite honestly, is I would be fine to only spend the rest of my life seeing these 3 people. And he's like, yeah, he goes, I'm the same way. It's I would be fine just with my wife and kids for the rest of my life, So it's kind of funny. I don't know if it really came down to that. I don't know, after, 10 years, I might get a little batty.
Right.
But they're the 3 of my favorite people in the world. And I don't have a need. I don't have a need to go out. I don't have a need.
Yeah.
Is that okay to say?
Yeah. We're fortunate to be around people we love.
Yeah.
It's, I mean, we have cats. We got chicks, baby chickens.
Yeah.
We have a roommate that we get along really good with. So
yeah.
And it's, but there's been other times in my life, I had shitty roommates or, lived completely by myself.
Yeah.
If that had to live like that during those times, that would probably be super stressful.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I feel pretty lucky that the situation I'm in, it's, it works really well.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you've been involved in the art scene here in San Jose for, when did you start kind of getting involved?
So I guess my first show was around 2000, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, this place that used to be on the Alameda. It's gone now, but it was like a hip hop store. That was my first solo show.
What was the name of the place?
Reflect.
Oh.
They sold like mostly like streetwear, like hip hop stuff. But then,
Yeah. I think I kind of remember. That was only open for like a minute, though, right? It was pretty.
yeah, maybe a year. I
Yeah.
don't know, maybe a year and change, but yeah, not too long.
Yeah.
But that was the first place I got Montana spray paint. I didn't even know about it, and the owner, since I was doing an art show for him, he's like, "Hey, try this paint out," and he gave me a can.
Oh, cool.
So
Yeah, that's funny. Yeah, and then at that point, were you already teaching? Because you were teaching at Independence for a while, right?
no, I taught at YB, my first job.
Okay. Well,
Yeah,
yeah.
that was my first job out of school, and I don't know if they still have it, but then they had, if you took the CBEST test,
Yeah.
you could get an emergency credential, and then you were good to teach for something like 3 or 5 years, but you had to be working on your credential.
Oh, okay.
So, I took the test like right after I graduated, and then a week before the school year started or something, or maybe a couple weeks, I got an interview at YB, and I think they're just like desperate for someone, so I got hired.
And
So,
were you teaching art? Was that?
yeah, I taught art, and then and I coached soccer.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I was only there for like, I taught art there for a year, and then they kicked me out there. They're like, nah, I don't know. They're like, thanks, but no thanks. And then I coached soccer for like another season after that. Well, because I think my next job, I worked at St. Clair's over by Santa Clara University.
Oh, okay.
It's like a K through 8.
Oh, okay.
And so I taught art from like 5th grade through 8th grade. Like I was the art teacher there.
Yeah.
And that was pretty cool. I got to do some murals with the kids. That was my first, actually, that's how I got hired. I think, so what happened, I was TAing at Santa Clara, because this guy I played soccer with was a professor there in the painting department.
Yeah.
And he's like, hey, if you need something to do, he's like, I could probably carve out a little studio space for you too, if you just help out in my classes.
That's cool.
So I was like, okay, that's cool. Yeah. So then he was a good guy. Like he kind of I feel like he kind of looked out for me, like would give me like weird odd jobs once in a while, like anything that would pop up.
Yeah.
And then, so one of the jobs was like, hey, they want someone to paint a mural with the kids at the school over here at St. Clair's. I was like, yeah, I'm down. So I did that. And then the principal, she was happy with it. So she's like, we need an art teacher. And then, so she hired me to teach there.
Yeah.
And
I hadn't realized that you've been teaching like for that long, but I've seen in like your posts, like when you were at Monterey, and that kind of like showed me what was going on there. Like, and it seems like they have a pretty good, there seemed like there was some great art program going on there. But then when did you guys, you and Roan, start the store and it was like on the Alameda there? When did
we opened 2011. So,
Okay.
I think we got the keys to the place, I want to say like July.
Yeah.
And then, we opened in August, like soft opening, and then we like did all the back to school stuff. And then, so we put our grand opening for like October.
Yeah.
So,
next
year will be 10 years.
Yeah, 10 years. Can you believe it?
Yeah, it feels like 50.
Yeah, right, exactly. So then now you have the shop in Japantown, and then are you okay talking about, because you have some plans with that, right?
Oh yeah. So we're expanding, because right now, well, I guess for like a couple more weeks, we sublet the side of our the 5th Street side of this shop.
Yeah.
We sublet that out. But their lease is up, so we're moving over. We're expanding our art store into that area. And then we're kind of creating more studio space. So for people who take classes, or there's also people who are members, like they just kind of use the studio space. We're gonna have more room for that. So, because right now it's kind of cramped. We have like a printing press stuffed into a corner that we wheel out. Everyone kind of draws and paints in one room. So this will be cool. And at first, when we moved to Japantown, we didn't think we were gonna do. We didn't really think we were gonna do art supplies anymore. Because, Because like going back to Alameda, like that was the main focus of the shop on Alameda was an art supply store, and then like everything else was kind of like second because we were into it, like doing classes, having a gallery, printing T-shirts, like all that was just because like that was things that we wanted to do and we were kind of doing anyways. But what paid for everything was the art store. Yeah. And so now it's like really different, which I feel like looking at now, like we're pretty lucky that we made the switch when we did. Yeah. Because if we were still trying to sell just art supplies right now, I think we'd be screwed. You know?
Just with everything online and stuff, right?
Yeah, and so that's kind of what happened. So we got to Japantown. We're like, let's just do like stationery, like small stuff, like maybe like journaling, like watercolor, drawing stuff. But then University Art closed down. All the Aaron Brothers closed down. Yeah. And so, like, I guess, because, you know, when we got into it, we're thinking, like, we, like, super want to do an art store. So, like, there's nothing in San Jose. Like, there's University Art, and if they don't have whatever you're looking for, you're driving to Berkeley, Oakland, San Francisco, Palo Alto. You know, you're leaving San Jose. Yeah. So, or Santa Cruz, if you go the other way. So we're like, let's open an art supply store because we feel like the city really needs it. Yeah. And so now I feel like since we switched to doing mostly classes, we've had a lot of people come in and ask for supplies, and like, all right, it makes sense to do a store again. So
yeah, the kind of, in some ways, you having more of the school almost builds in a clientele that's going to come in and buy supplies, right? Not that you're trying to parasite off them, but you know what I mean? It just makes sense. So it's kind of a fun kind of transition and stuff. Yeah.
Well, it kind of helped with the classes, because when we started the classes, since we already had all the channels set up to get supplies. Yeah. Like part of our classes, like you come take the class, we have you for all the supplies. Like you don't have to buy any supplies. Like it's just included in the class.
Yeah, that's cool.
So, but I will say, like everything else, it's weird because we used to focus. I think when we first opened the shop, we were like, all right, let's take a step back from doing art and just doing shows, like, because that was mine and Roan's like main thing. Yeah. Like, let's really focus on the shop and really try and make a good shop. But then after a while, it's just like it's like doing our work, and like when we do like the powwow. Yeah. We get a lot more signups for art classes. Like when Roan has a show, we get more signups for art classes. When I paint a wall, like it's just, the more we do is just being ourselves. Yeah. It helps every other part of the business.
That's cool. Yeah, I was going to ask you, like, you know, how much are you able to continue to do your own work? I mean, now I imagine you can do a lot, but with, you know, managing and having the store, and because you're still teaching a little bit at some colleges, right?
Yeah. So
I'm looking at that schedule, and I'm thinking, how do you have time for your own creativity?
I feel like it's like I'm pretty lucky to be like in the spot where I am, because I teach, so I have consistent work. Like I teach every semester. I always have like at least one class. Yeah. It doesn't pay really well, but it's like, it's something. Yeah. But it's enough that I could like pay rent on the house. I could buy food, you know, I could like essentials, like it's enough for that. Yeah. If I get 2 classes, then I'd get like, you know, I'm like a regular adult, like I get like benefits, you know. I could go to the doctor. Like,
you could buy 2 meals.
Yeah. So, but it like, so I've always been able to kind of do my art with what everything else going on. I think like the shop was probably like the first year of the shop we were open 7 days a week,
Yeah.
and even then like I would still make art, but it was different. Like I would make it at the counter, so like
Sure.
I would sit there and work, which I think kind of helps in a different way because it's just I don't know, instead of painting large or
Yeah.
being more expressive, you get, I was able to focus on something else. So, I mean, I feel like I'm always going to be, no matter what, I'm going to be able to make something
Yeah.
and be creative. So,
Yeah. So, and I have to ask you too, because I've never asked this question. Like, the Cyclops gorilla, where's that all
yeah.
come from? It's super cool, but it's like, so how did that all come around? It's kind of like your signature, right?
Yeah. So, that can, so it's kind of a long story, I guess. So I did, like, in 2010, I did a show at Empire 7. And it was like my 10th year showing. So I was just like, I think I called it like the first 10 years or something.
Yeah.
And all my paintings, like left over from other shows, I made new work for it, but I just had a lot of stuff, just like sitting around the house. Like I painted bottles, I painted doors, I painted records.
Yeah.
I had watercolor. Like I counted how many pieces are in. I don't. I want to say I was in like the 300 range.
Oh my gosh.
Of like paintings, like counting each door as its own painting.
Sure.
So there's 21 doors I hinged together like a screen down the middle of the gallery, and then the walls are filled. I know at one point there was like 100 bottles, but it was just like whatever I had left over. So
Yeah.
I want to say it was like in the 300 range, but like after kind of like looking at it, I was like, man, I paint people so much. Like most of my work is just all figurative.
Yeah.
So I'm like, so that little like and then I had a show at Kukui, I think. So that was like in the summer, and I had a show at Kukui like in the winter. So before I had that show at Kukui, I wanted to do like all new work, all different work.
Yeah.
And so, but it's like hard being figurative painting, like just painting people. So I figured like to ease into it, because I didn't want to just like start painting still lifes or landscapes.
Yeah.
So to ease into it, I was like, I'm do that show is called Monsters and Zombies, because I figured zombies are still figurative, but
Right. Yeah.
yeah. And so the Cyclorilla kind of came out of that. So because like during like the monsters I did one that was like a cyclops, like a furry cyclops. It wasn't a gorilla yet. It was just like a giant furry cyclops with like claws and like sharp teeth. And then so that was like kind of like the godfather of all of them.
Yeah.
And then like my favorite characters in like comics were like the Thing and like Chewbacca in Star Wars, and then like King Kong. And so then I think I also did like a gorilla family portrait.
Yeah.
And my dad liked that one, which is weird because like usually my dad doesn't like anything I do. But actually he did have one thing. He's like, oh, that painting's that. He's like, I like that painting. I don't like all those drips. So I did like a clean version for him, like I think for his birthday, like 1 year. Yeah. And then I was like, I kind of like painting gorillas. So, and then it kind of merged from there. I think like I've always been to like Planet of the Apes too. So I kind of think of them as being like, if this was Planet of the Apes, that would be like their mythology.
Yeah.
So
that's cool. So I mean, you've been doing art, having a store, teaching, all these kind of things. What's some kind of like wisdom or lesson? Say there's a young Sean Boyles out there who wants to kind of do something similar. What's some like advice or wisdom that you've gained in the last 10 years having a store, last 15 years doing art? What would you say?
I think the main thing, like, for doing art is, like uh don't listen to people that like want to tell you like you should do something else, or like, okay, like that's nice, but what are you gonna do to live? Like,
Yeah.
um like when I kind of like things started to click for me and I figured it out, it was just like, whoa, this is what I want to do.
Yeah.
And I looked at other people that kind of were kind of where I wanted to get, or I just like that were just like working artists, you know, like, and you know, most of them were like a lot older than me, and I looked at how much work they made and like how long they've been doing it,
Yeah.
and I was just like, oh, okay, so it's kind of like as long as you stick with it, you know,
Yeah.
if like if it's something like you really want to do, as long as you stick with it, like it could happen. Because I think I would like, yeah, like I would talk to I remember I was talking to one guy, and then he was a working artist, and he was like introducing me to some of his friends that were around his same age, and they were probably like 20, 30 years older than me, you know.
Yeah.
And it was like, oh, that guy used to be really good, but then, you know, I don't know, he had kids and got a job, and he doesn't really paint anymore.
Right.
And so I'm like, oh, as long as you stick with it, as long as you just keep doing it, something's gonna happen.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
well,
that's
yeah, like,
yeah, the kind of like, yeah, it seems like if you stick with stuff, there's for livelihood, other things come along. So it might be like you're creating art, you're having shows. It doesn't necessarily mean you might be generating your whole income from that. You have to supplement it, especially in the Bay Area. But I
yeah,
was thinking, because I have some friends who are musicians, and when they were younger, they wanted to be full on, rock stars or whatever. But then they got married and had kids, and then they got back together with their bands, and they're practicing, and then they're playing gigs and stuff. And I was thinking, like, oh, that's so sad. And then I was like, wait a second, like, I do the same thing with soccer, right? Like, I go and I play twice a week. I'm never going to be in a World Cup, but I just love doing it. You know what I mean? So I was kind of thinking, like,
yeah,
it's okay to like do these other things that you really love, you know, and continue to do them throughout your whole life. So art can be like that. I mean, hopefully, people can generate, an income from art as well.
yeah, um, yeah. I think it like as you get older too, you're like things change. Like maybe why you do something too.
Yeah, totally.
Like, uh, like maybe like when I'm younger, like I was more concerned with like, oh, how are people going to react to this? Are people going to like it? Are people going to see it?
Yeah.
But now, or for a while actually, it's just been like doing it is enough for me.
Yeah, totally.
Like just making it. I feel fortunate that I do get to put it out and people do get to see it, and I do get a reaction from it. But I think it's just like being able to do it, like being able to like set up my life where I could make art, I could play soccer, I could teach. Like these are all things that like that I enjoy doing. So there isn't, and owning a shop, like helping other people, even like just talking to other people about art supplies, like that's still fun to me. Like every part of the shop is something I want to do. Like I'm thankful I didn't get a job in the office doing something I didn't want to do. I mean, I've also been fired from a lot of jobs too, so it's like my options are sort of like
yeah, that was the path was
like
leading
limited.
you in this direction, maybe.
Yeah. So
yeah. So yeah,
it's worked out.
I mean, like I totally. I mean, I love you, man. Just that, and then to do the retail store and the class. I mean, it's so needed in this area, and I mean, you and Ryan are like heroes to me of what you guys are doing. I really appreciate it.
Thanks.
Yeah, totally. So now, then with the store, when you guys looking to open up, I mean, with this kind of shelter in place, how much does that jack up the timeline, or is it actually a blessing because you can go and work without stress, or what's the plan? What's going on with that?
So right now, I guess we're in an okay spot right now because like I'm still like I'm teaching the classes online, so I'm still getting a paycheck.
Yeah.
Um, Roan did a big job for Sofa Market, so
Yeah.
she has some money from that. I did some work for the earthquake, so I have some money from that. So,
Yeah.
if it looks like, I don't know, what did they say? Like at least another month, maybe.
Yeah.
I mean, that's like the conservative end, you know.
Yeah.
It might be, might be a few months or whatever. I think it works out okay for us right now. Like we're not really sweating because it's a lot of work in the shop to kind of transform the space, get it ready.
Yeah.
So whenever if if it is a month, we'll be on schedule to open in a month. If it's like a few months, we'll be ready.
Yeah.
One thing though is like the community has been like really like supportive. Like right when this all went down, and like because we were going by the schools,
yeah.
So as long as the schools are open, we're like, I guess we'll still be open because like. But right when the schools said they're closing, we closed down. And then the parents of the kids are like, oh, like we still, I think a couple of them even said like, we're gonna pay our monthly fee.
Oh, that's awesome.
Even if we don't come, like we still want to support you.
That's awesome.
And so then Rowan is really like she's responsible for it. Like she looked up like how to set up like the online class, like to have them keep going. And then so we've actually been getting a couple more signups because the kids are just like they're just home. So like parents like you need something to do. So
yeah. That's good. So you guys you just kind of adapted. I mean, so you're having to teach some classes online with what you're doing, right? And then for the shop, for Arsenal, then you guys have kind of adapted and started to do some online programs as well, right?
Yeah. So there's two. Yeah. So through work, like Mission College, and Evergreen, like I've been doing like my classes online. But then for our kids' classes, Rowan like set up our Zoom account.
Yeah.
And we do live. I think. So Saturday we have a life drawing thing.
Yeah.
So this is our second one because we do it every other week because we didn't want to flake on the model too because we know like they need work.
Yeah, totally.
So so it works out. They have like a webcam, and I think because it's online, it's not nude, but they wear like tight clothes, so you can still see the figure really well. And without knowing it, like we were kind of prepared a little more for this just because like the way things have gone, like how it is when you have a business, like you just okay, so we're doing this now. Like,
Yeah, got to adapt.
Yeah,
that's cool. So then last kind of question, then I'll let you go. But what kind of well, two things. I do want to, at the end I want to hear about the store, when you plan to open, the dates and all that kind of stuff, so people can be looking forward to that. But then for you, what where do you gain like your inspiration and stuff like that? What motivates you?
So like my answer for like the longest time was like just things I was into growing up with. Like I've kind of always been into like video games, comics, cartoons, movies.
Yeah.
It's still, I think like that's still like part of it. But it feels weird being like older and like
video games and
like,
comics.
It's still like those things I'm still into.
Yeah.
Because like that's like what made me want to draw, like seeing that stuff.
Yeah.
And it was like, oh, like I want to do that. Like that's what made me want to start doing stuff. But I think since we've been indoors, I've been painting the sky a lot.
Oh, cool.
Like when I go out like once a day or whatever, like I'll take a photo, and it's just I think because like there's not a lot of people around, so it's kind of like so I was doing like the landscape, kind of really at the bottom, and then most of the picture is sky. So like the tops of trees and the tops of houses is like maybe like 1/10 of the painting, and then the rest of it is just all sky.
Yeah.
So that's what I've been working on lately. But I've also like been doing these stupid drawings of like, I call them like MMA, Street Fighter MMA ones, and it's like Dhalsim doing like Ryu's move, or like E Honda doing Blanca's move.
Okay.
I don't know. They're just drawings right now. I might make them into paintings. So it's like, it's still kind of like, well, because I've been playing a lot of Street Fighter too.
Yeah.
Like when I'm at home.
Yeah.
Uh,
So what's the kind of like the timeline on the store, and then what's some of the things that you guys are doing that people can be involved in?
Okay, so as soon as society's back, we're back.
Yeah. Okay.
So stop once they say you can go outside.
Go to the Arsenal.
Everyone's healthy. Yeah, come by. We'll be there.
Yeah.
In the meantime, we have kids in adult classes. So you can sign up for either or. And then we've been trying to like figure out some way, because we have like a lot of friends that would do like Comic-Cons and things, like, you know, sell their art at like different shows.
Yeah.
So we've been trying to like figure out something how we could like support them, like maybe do like an art night, like through Zoom, where people could kind of like, they could be drawing something. They could come in, kind of just like hang out, because we used to do those at the shop. It's just like a sketch night, a sketch meetup.
Yeah, totally.
So doing something like that with like online, and then having it linked to like their website or something, have something where they could kind of, you know, they can make some money while doing it. So
yeah, that's totally cool. Awesome.
Yeah, how are you guys doing though? Like everything at the magazine?
It was good. I mean, like the first week of the shut-in was production time, so it was no different. Our printer is still able to print. They're an essential, what do you call it? Essential business, I guess.
Okay, yeah.
But they had to cut back. So for the next issue, you know, we're trying to figure out what to do. I'm actually thinking about doing, two things. Either just doing it all, kind of like illustrations, which would be kind of fun. We would hire some, you know, different artists to do, like, take this story and this person and then do an illustration on it. Or I might.
That sounds really cool.
Yeah, which I kind of want to do. But then the other side of me too is like, well, I might want to do, like I would maybe do all of it, and I would do the photos of the people that we're interviewing and doing just like in front of their house, and I would like shoot it from my car, you know, and just kind of do something like that. So it's, because then it would be kind of like a record of this time in history, you know. So you know, I'm kicking those two ideas around, but yeah. We'll figure it out. But yeah, thanks for asking. I appreciate it. Yeah, cool.
Yeah.
All right, man. Well, thank you. Like I said, I really appreciate you guys, and looking forward to the new Arsenal space. That's going to be really awesome. And say hi to Roan. You guys are incredible, and thank you for what you do for the art community here.
Yeah, thanks for all the support you've given us too, Daniel.
Oh, dude.
Like, it's really helped out.
Yeah, well, whatever we can do. You know, we're all supporting each other. That's what's so great about this, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, man. Thank you very much for taking time to talk. I really appreciate it, and catching up.
All right, cool.
Okay.
Take it easy.
Thanks, Sean. See you later.
All right.
Bye.
Later. Bye.
To find out more about Sean, you can read about him in issue 11.0 of Content Magazine, as well as you can follow on Instagram at Mr. Sean Boyles and the Arsenal SJ. In addition to Content Magazine, SV Creates provides opportunities for artists to have resources and training. So from time to time, we'll be checking in with Alyssa, who is a part of SV Creates, and she will be giving us some of the updates of what's going on with resources. Hi, Alyssa. How you doing?
Hi, Daniel. Hi, everyone. I'm Alyssa, the program manager with SV Creates. I help with capacity building. We offer workshops, leadership programs, and grant opportunities. And while we're sheltering in place, I wanted to let you know that SV Creates is advocating to help make sure there are resources available for artists and arts groups in the various emergency relief funds and efforts underway in our state, local region, and nation. We partner with Californians for the Arts, Americans for the Arts, and others. And if you're not a member of Californians for the Arts, you may want to join. They have lots of great regular updates. And follow our social media as opportunities arise.
Thank you, Alyssa. Yeah, so you can follow us at svcreates.org is our website, or svcreates on Instagram. Cool, Alyssa, thank you. I'm excited about doing this feature each time in our podcast. Thank you.
Great. Thanks, Daniel.
Talk to you there. Thank you for listening to the Content Magazine podcast. Please follow us on social media at Content Mag and subscribe by going to our website, content-magazine.com. This episode's music is Muddy Water from Sakura's 2020 release, Coming Home Soon. You can find Sakura on Spotify.